Welcome to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series, brought to you by the C.T. Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. We're having a conversation about work-life balance, how to navigate and overcome challenges within your career, and how to make business more accommodating to a diverse workforce.
Good morning and welcome to How Does She Do It? My name is Lata Ramchand. I serve as Dean here, and our goal with these podcasts is to ask the right questions and to get answers from people who've been there and done that, women whose career paths are what I call non-linear, having taken big leaps and jumps and made it to the point they are at. Our goal with this initiative is to eventually convert workplaces into being more family friendly. And today we're very pleased to have with us Emma Plumb, who is the director of 1 Million for Work Flexibility, which is a national initiative advocating for the broader adoption of flexibility in the workplace. Emma became an advocate for work flexibility when she was working in a quote-unquote traditional job that was very anti-flex. In other words, working from home was frowned upon. Regular lectures were given on arriving at 9 a.m. on the dot, not a minute later. And her then boyfriend, who is now her husband, broke his back in a fall. And when she requested the ability to telecommute throughout his recovery, that request was denied. She spent the following 2 years trying to change her employer's outdated policies before leaving to make change on a bigger scale. In 2013, she connected with Sarah Sutton Fell, the CEO and founder of FlexJobs, a professional job service that helps job seekers find the best flexible jobs that are available. Sarah started 1 Million for Work Flexibility as the advocacy arm of FlexJobs to call for widespread improvements in the way employers and employees work through increased flexibility with Emma at the helm. 1 Million for Work Flexibility aims to provide both a community for workers who want and need flexibility, as well as a coalition for companies, academic institutions, nonprofits, and business leaders who embrace this concept of flexibility being a business strategy. Emma has a BS in Symbolic Systems and an MA in Philosophy from Stanford University. She now lives in Connecticut and is also a mother to a daughter who started preschool this fall. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. Let's start with your personal story, your journey, and I described that a little bit, but help us understand what happened and how you came to this point.
Great, thanks. Well, definitely I think I fit the nonlinear description as you mentioned, and certainly would never have anticipated that this is what I would be doing. Although, growing up, I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was really very focused on school. I knew I wanted to do well in school, and I knew I wanted to get into college, and that really wasn't a lot of fun in high school, but I just loved college. I loved school. It was such a happy place for me. I loved the environment. I loved being surrounded by interesting, accomplished people and friends and having so much freedom. And what was really tricky for me to figure out was what to do after that. And part of that, I think, was that I have a lot of different interests. My major was interdisciplinary, but a big part of it was that I just really didn't see how I would fit into the working world. I'd had summer internships that really just kind of got me depressed about what work was going to be like. And it just felt like such a bizarre transition to go from a place that was so kind of supportive of developing me as an individual and, really pushing me to learn and find my own voice, and then enter a working world where I was going to have to sort of follow lots of arbitrary rules and no longer have that freedom. So I think kind of because of that, and I didn't really think that deeply about it at the time, but I kind of ended up on this kind of random path of finding different pursuits that kind of interested me at the time and gave me more freedom. So I was a travel writer for some period of time. I worked as a consultant to the Ministry of Education in Bermuda for a number of years. I did lots of things that allowed me more freedom than the traditional kind of path until, circumstances were such that I needed more stability. In 2008, obviously the economy changed. I was kind of, things were changing in my personal life where I wanted a more stable job, and ended up in that kind of traditional Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 world that I had been so reluctant to go into.
Yeah.
And, immediately realized that it really was not a great fit for me, but stuck it out until something changed, which is, as you mentioned, that my boyfriend at the time was in an accident. He broke his back, and my desire for flexibility changed into a real need for flexibility, and it kind of inspired this real activism in me to say, wait a second, there's so many reasons why somebody will need kind of a different way to work, and so that is really what got me fired up about kind of really pushing for change on a broader scale. I mean, it started at that company, and then because over the 2 years I was unsuccessful, it became a broader mission for me to push for change across the country, really, and get people, excited about rethinking work.
That's a great story coming out of this whole idea that a lot of the time I think the most successful endeavors are really come out of a problem-solving exercise. So you have a problem, you try to solve it, and then in that process, you're creating solutions not just for yourself, but for others as well. And I always find that's the best way to grow your passion and convert it into a business. So it's really inspiring listening to that. When you decided to go out on your own, did you find that, the people that you worked with prior to that, there were others at work other than yourself that sort of related to this theme of flexibility is a good thing to have, and that it can make us do our best? In other words, was the workplace, were there others at work that felt the same like you?
At the job where I was personally trying to advocate for change, it was so interesting because it was a foundation where people were extremely passionate about making the world a better place. It was they were really focused on their work out of a desire to really make positive change in the world, but felt very stressed and very overwhelmed and very distressed by the fact that they didn't have flexibility themselves, and yet were really too nervous to speak up about it. So definitely I found lots of my colleagues felt the same way, but were uncomfortable having that conversation because of the stigma around what that would mean for their own jobs. And so when I actually went to make my request to HR and asked to be able to work from home, I was told I was the third person to ask that week, and that we had all been denied. And that's when I said, that's not okay. This is obviously something that people need. And so when I did, part of, I think, the struggle was that I was making a request, not in fact just for me, but I was really looking at, let's, from an organizational perspective, look at how to completely change the way we think about work here, which was perhaps too big of an ask. But that was really my goal, because it was clear so many other people needed that shift as well.
And given what you're doing now, say in the last, 4 or 5 years, given what you do you feel like that attitude has changed somewhat, changed a lot, or is there still a lot of resistance to adopting flexibility as more of this is a natural thing to do?
I think it is shifting. It's hard. People really have been. I was a latecomer to this in many ways. People have been advocating for change in this way for decades. So and it was wonderful when I was starting out with 1 million for work flexibility, and even in the research I was doing at that company to find that there are so many people who have been working on this. And so it's hard. There have been definitely positive changes. I think even in the past 4 years, definitely we're seeing more activity around remote work. We're seeing, millennials are speaking out more and more about this. So I do think there's been a shift, but there's still certainly a long way to go. And with our movement, we are eager to help people see that, because I felt, gosh, am I alone in speaking out about this? And so we want people to see, no, people are talking about this. This is something that, there's a community around this issue that you can be part of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you share with us a couple of things? One is, how do you define flexibility? How do you define this idea of flex work? And can you share some examples and cases of companies, initiatives at work where you're actually seeing this happen and come alive?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, one of the complexities of work flexibility, but also its benefits, is that there's really no one size fits all. Mm-hmm. So we are really advocating for just some form of flexibility in where, when, and how work gets done. But that can take many different forms. It could be, working remotely all the time. It could be just doing that some of the time. It could be flexible schedules or a reduced schedule, job sharing, a phased retirement where you reduce the schedule over time before you retire. So there are all different ways that flex can be implemented, and it's really about finding the best fit for an employer and an employee, or an employer and their collective employees. So it's one of the great things about flexibility is that it's flexible too. But again, one of the challenges, because there's no clear prescription for how to go about making it work. And in terms of examples, I mean, that's what's wonderful. There are so many examples of folks who are embracing flexibility in all different ways. There are certainly other advocacy groups who are promoting this, and from all different angles. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do as well from our coalition, was to bring together those different voices who are kind of coming at this issue, whether it's for working parents or for an environmental issue or for productivity reasons. And so we have a coalition of more than 100 organizations who are standing up for flexibility. And many of those are employers, and we do a series of interviews with folks on our blog. And this week we profiled a smaller company in Silicon Valley. They have about 50 employees, called Badger Maps, and they focus on part-time and remote options for their employees. Other examples are larger organizations like Polycom. They have around 800 remote employees. And then Sodexo, which has more than 400,000 employees total worldwide. They offer a wide range of flexible options: telework, flex time, job sharing, informal flexibility. So, the companies doing this range from small to huge, and the type of flexibility kind of span different models as well.
That is really encouraging. We will now take a short break and come back after a message from one of our sponsors. Thank you, Emma.
Join the conversation. Bauer College's Working Families Initiative is bridging the gap between industry and academia to create a conversation on how organizations can make the workplace more family-friendly. We're talking about flexibility, maternity and paternity leave, and career transitions. For more information about the Working Families Initiative at Bauer College, including upcoming events, visit bauer.uh.edu/workingfamilies.
Welcome back. My guest today is Emma Plumb, and Emma is the director of 1 Million for Work Flexibility. Thank you, Emma, for joining us. And right before the break, we were talking about examples of organizations that have embraced the notion of flexibility in action in the workplace. So continuing on that, Emma, how have you or how has your coalition thought about making the case for flexibility being not just a feel-good, do-good initiative, but really it's about making sure you are attracting the best talent, and the best talent may not be uniformly distributed. They may have different preferences, and so you're just sort of embracing this as a business imperative more than anything else.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a key part of our message and really a flex overall, that this, yes, it's maybe easier to make the case that employees need flexibility, but the reality is that this absolutely is a business strategy and needs to be embraced as one. So we really highlight all the many ways that businesses can benefit through flex. At a high level, there's increased productivity, improved recruiting, as you're saying. You can access a wider talent pool, greater retention when flexible workers tend to be more engaged and more loyal to their employers when their needs are understood. Disaster preparedness is a key issue for companies. When you have flex in place, then you can respond to emergency situations. You can have systems in place already to handle surprises. And overall, better mental and physical health of your employees is gonna lead to more productivity again in businesses. We also highlight that really we want to look at how our brains work, and in fact, flexible work helps people follow the flow of their natural brain functioning for peak performance. We're not machines. We can't actually just perform for 8 hours straight in a day, and we need to take breaks to achieve, our peak performance. And some of us work better at different times of day than others, and acknowledging that and recognizing that we have different strengths and is a really key step for employers to get the best out of their employees.
Nice. Yeah, very nice. And have there been studies that have taken this data? So, for instance, what you refer to, better mental health, just getting the best out of your employees, because like you said, I may be a morning person, someone else could be best, they're most productive between 2 and 4. Have there been studies that actually capture that?
There have. We actually highlight a number of them on our blog. We have a research explainer series. We have an author insights interview series with folks who've written books on these kinds of things. There's a social psychologist, Ron Friedman, who's written a book that highlights that people are happier and healthier and more productive when they feel autonomous, and so he cites research around that. Sociologist Christine Carter talks about how creative insights are more likely to occur when we're not trying to get them, and we really need breaks for that kind of creativity. So there's definitely lots of research on this issue and lots of resources that we can point people to on our site.
And what is the website so our listeners can access it and read more about these things?
Yeah, it's workflexibility.org.
Sometimes this is viewed as it's a gender issue. That flexibility comes out of you're a working parent, you're a mom, and maybe it is, but are you seeing these issues being relevant in a very gender neutral way? And
no, that's a great question and a key point, and I think also speaks to this sort of business case, is that this issue isn't specific to one group of people. People need flex for so many different reasons and in so many different circumstances, and that is such such a key point because I think the issue has, in many ways, been kind of marginalized as something that's just specific to women, or even more particularly to working moms. And absolutely, working moms need flex. There's no question of that. But so many other folks do. We actually have a fact sheet on the types of work flexibility where we list easily 24 different types of people who need work flexibility, whether it's, people with disabilities, people, environmentalists, military spouses, people approaching retirement, people living in rural or economically disadvantaged areas. So this is something that definitely goes beyond just one group. I will say that, I have been advocating for flex since long before I was a parent myself, and obviously, initially needed flex because of my husband's for caregiving reasons, but now as a parent, I will say, and as a working mom, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, how has this not happened already?
Right.
How are people possibly managing? It's just it's really startling. So,
right. It's so true what you said, both about, you referred to a writer who writes about this with respect to autonomy, and it's basically giving people the freedom to work in a format that is best suited for them. And if we get that, then you go back to, how did we ever do this without that flexibility? Because you become so much more productive. It's just getting over that hump of, this is how we've always done it. So just encouraging, though, to hear about what's happening out there. So this is a question, hopefully it's not too distant a future, but if this becomes, or as this becomes more widely adopted, what do you see the workplace become or look like in, say, 10, 15, even 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, people have been, calling for change for a long time. We still have a long way to go. I'm hopeful that things will be shifting even more so. I think inevitably this is going to take hold, and it's exciting. I mean, really, flex touches on so many different issues and impacts so many different people and we spend so much of our time at work. So if we can figure out how to make that a more positive experience, one that, allows us to more fully engage with our jobs and also with our communities and meet our personal needs, I mean, that's kind of a revolutionary thing. And I would also just add that, there's a lot of discussion right now about what kind of impact artificial intelligence is going to have on jobs and employment. And I think we have to be really thinking about reshaping work in that context as well. The 40-hour or 50 or 60-hour work week is something that we have landed at really for no particular strategic reason. And if we start thinking about 30 or even 20-hour work weeks, that could be kind of a key component of handling this disruption that's going to come from technology, so that we can benefit from it.
Very, very well described, because, I always wonder, we work long hours here in the United States, and it's not clear to me that we are 3 times or 4 times more productive than other nations where the work week is not as long as it is here. And much of it is, in some ways it's in our own heads. I don't want to be the first person to leave work. And so I have this, if it's easier for me to say, I work 60-hour work weeks. And we just need to get out of that mindset that it's really not a quantitative metric that's relevant. So it's, again, encouraging to hear what you're doing. You talked about, loving college, and I love that, about loving, being in an educational environment, your interdisciplinary major, because I see that as that's what higher ed does, is it teaches people to think and learn, and it doesn't matter what your passion is, you can bring it all together in an academic setting and learn and grow. What do you see as the ideal role for higher education in this conversation?
Yeah, I think we're still really figuring all of this out. And there are no easy answers. There's no one-size-fits-all. And that makes this challenging, also exciting. We need people to be thinking about this in phases of their lives when they can be more experimental. So I think in the workplace there's so much fear and stigma attached to change, and so having the opportunity to rethink these issues outside of that environment is really critical. And higher education is such a key, place for that. People can take different kinds of risks and model different ideas and challenge assumptions in a different way. We need students not just to be coming up with the next great product or the next great service, but, really thinking about how to totally reshape how work gets done in the first place. So, what better place to do that than in higher education?
Nice. I like that. We're not just creating products here. We're just also creating ideas that can make a difference in the way we live and the way we work. So just a nice message. Finally, before I let you go, Flex Day is coming up. October 17th, is that Flex Day?
That's right. Right, October 17th.
Tell us how we might get involved, and what would you like Flex Day to look like, and how do we make this more of a, everyone knows this, everyone marks it on their calendars. What can we do to help?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So much I think of helping to make change is encouraging conversation around this issue and creating a space for people to talk about how this is important and why this is going to benefit folks. And so this will be the 5th annual National Flex Day. It was originally launched by Working Mother, and 1 Million for Work Flexibility is hosting it this year. We're really excited, and it's just an opportunity to really to highlight this issue, in a large forum. So we're hoping people will chime in on social media with the hashtag National Flex Day. We're going to have a contest on our blog, and we're planning a webinar as well. So throughout the month of October, we encourage folks to check our website and check social media and just be out there talking about how key this issue is for them, and opening up conversations with their colleagues and employers and help move things forward. So thank you for mentioning that.
Great. We will definitely share that on our social media channels. And Emma, thank you for what you're doing. I think the conversations that you're having through your coalitions are so critical and so timely. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series from the C.T. Bauer College of Business, brought to you by the Working Families Initiative. The initiative aims to provide support and access for women in business school and the workforce, and to generate research that organizations can use to implement policies and standards to benefit a diverse workforce. For more information about Bauer College and this podcast series, visit www.bauer.uh.edu/podcast.